Yeah, I have a question for you.
Wait, his name
What's
is
that?
Gene. Gene's his nickname. Say, Gene, I have a question for you.
No.
Yes, Gene's his nickname.
Gene,
Yeah, so do it one more time. You ready? So do it.
Gene, I have a question for you.
What's your question?
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time, decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all the information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Shat The Movies, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing today?
Gene, I appreciate all our commissioners, and regardless of the movies that they commission, when they come on the schedule, I'm excited to do it. But tonight is a different movie altogether. When this came on, a year and something out, I was like, I cannot wait for this. And it was one of our great listeners, Jackson M., who has commissioned, besides tonight's movie, The Little Mermaid and Close Encounter. He is a great listener, and I was excited. A lot of people are going to think of this movie just about a bus action, but tonight we're going to get every kind of transportation possible. Cars, buses, trains, elevators, creepers under like the mechanics use. The only thing we didn't have was bicycles, skateboards, inline skates. And that's why it can be only one movie. I'm so excited that Jackson again decided to commission the 1994 kick-ass action fuck yeah movie, Speed.
And Mega Commissioner Jackson M. wrote in and said, I can't wait to hear the hilarious memories of the first time you guys watched this masterpiece of a movie. Thanks for the hours of laughs you've given me so far. I look forward to listening to the episode. I feel it deserves 2.5 wipes. Come on, Jackson, 2.5?
Oh, Jackson, come on, buddy. Dun, 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 dun.
Thanks again, guys. Love the podcast. Well, Speed is a 1994 action movie directed by Jan de Bont in his feature film directorial debut. The film stars Keanu Reeves, Dennis Hopper, Sandra Bullock, Joe Morton, and Jeff Daniels. The story revolves around a bus that is rigged by a terrorist to explode if its speed falls below 50 miles per hour. Speed premiered in Hollywood on June 7th, 1994, and grossed $350 million on a $30 million budget, becoming the 5th highest grossing film of 1994 and winning 2 Academy Awards for Best Sound Effects Editing and Best Sound. A sequel, which we have covered, Speed 2 Cruise Control, was released 3 years later on June 13th, 1997, without Keanu Reeves' involvement. David Edelstein considered it to be the worst sequel of all time. So Big D Jackson has called us out asking for the hilarious memories of the first time we watched this movie. Let's start with you.
I do remember vividly when it came out on VHS. I was a customer service rep at Blockbuster Video, the Largemont store. We were the pinnacle of the Northeast. Our store was a big money maker. It was always packed. And when this thing came out, I think it's the biggest release I remember. It took up 3 full sections on the new release wall. Floor to ceiling boxes. We had customers hanging out at the outside drop box and the inside drop box, trying to catch people as they were turning them in. This was a big movie. Everybody loved it. There was buzz about it. And I did something absolutely horrible and reprehensible, and I'm going to save that for later on. But I have a lot of memories about this movie.
Jackson, you got to remember that when this movie came out, this was before The Matrix. This was certainly before the John Wick movies. we didn't know what Keanu Reeves would become. I remember seeing this as a teenager, and I looked on the screen, it's an action movie, and I said, holy shit, that's Ted. Ted is in an action movie. And at the time, I was just a movie watcher. I was not a film podcaster. So I remember Speed being a fun throwaway movie. It was typical summer blockbuster fare, not much to think about, not much to analyze. On this rewatch, after doing, 300 something episodes of Shat The Movies, I really learned how much I've matured as a movie watcher. And I appreciated Speed so much more for how well they did everything that they did.
It's not just a typical action summer like blockbuster. There's so much to it. And I also appreciate this much more watching it as, let's say, an adult.
The trailer, however, is very typical summer blockbuster action movie.
Yeah.
So let's go to it.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, pop quiz. Airport. Gunman with one hostage. He's using her for cover. He's almost to a plane. You're 100 feet away.
What do you think? Shoot the hostage.
What?
Go for the good wound and he can't get to the plane with her. Clear shot.
You're deeply nuts, you know that?
All right, gentlemen, what we have here are 13 passengers in an express elevator. Bomb's already taken out cables. Bomber wants $3 million or he blows the emergency brakes.
Anything else that'll keep this elevator from falling?
The basement.
He can strike anywhere, at any time.
Will the mystery guest please sign in?
Why are they messing with me? Do they think I'm doing this for fun?
For L.A. cop Jack Traven.
Tell me again, Harry, why did I take this job?
Come on, 30 more years of this, you get a tiny pension and a cheap gold watch.
Cool.
The game began.
Very exciting, Jack. Some close calls, huh?
When someone put the city of Los Angeles to the ultimate test.
Pop quiz, hotshot. There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do you do? What do you do?
Now.
Are you insured? Yeah, why?
He's the only solution.
We just got a ransom demand from you terrorist. Says he's rigged the city bus. Where's Jack?
Where do you think?
Stay on or get off.
Get off.
This is much better.
Everybody hold on!
Keanu Reeves, Dennis Hopper, Sandra Bullock.
Pop quiz. You have a hair trigger aimed at your head. What do you do? What do you do?
Speed. Get ready for rush hour.
LAPD SWAT bomb disposal officers Jack Traven and Harry Temple thwart an attempt to hold an elevator filled with people for a $3 million ransom by Howard Payne, an extortionist bomber. As they corner Payne, he takes Harry hostage. Jack shoots Harry in the leg, forcing the bomber to release him. Payne flees and detonates the bomb, seemingly dying. Jack and Harry are praised by their lieutenant, with Harry being promoted. Having survived the incident, Payne watches from afar. The next morning, a mass transit bus explodes from a bomb planted by Payne. Contacting Jack, he explains that a similar bomb is rigged on another bus, which will activate once it reaches 50 miles per hour. That's 80 kilometers per hour for our English and Australian viewers, and detonate if it drops below 50. People will call Speed a cheesy action movie, and they're not wrong. It is cheesy. It is unrealistic. It is macho. It is wildly inaccurate as far as police process goes. Whatever. But you cannot say this movie is dull. It's fun from the get-go. We open with Dennis Hopper killing a dude. He's rigging an elevator to blow, and the movie just never slows down from there. You can't stop. You can't go get a snack. You can't check your phone. You can't multitask because someone is always up to something. Something is always blowing up, or there's a dude delivering a hard-ass line, or Jan de Bont is going wacky with his camera movement, and I am here for it. I was hooked from second one.
This movie's not embarrassed to be what it is. It's not pretending to be some thought-provoking action film. Even shit like The Rock has moments where they're trying to teach you about the cost of war and about what goes through a person's mind when they're trying to get what they deserve. This movie is like, no, this is Fast and the Furious. And when we get that Dukes of Hazzard, fuck yeah, announcement, they do a 30-foot jump in the squad car. That didn't need to be done, but I knew at that point, buckle up. We're going to be in for a wild ride. And this movie kept throwing curves at me. Every time I'd expect something, okay, Harry's got to die. He's given us that whole, I'm too old for this shit, kiss of death. Anytime somebody says that, Murtaugh says that about 5 times, and he ends up on a bomb fucking laced toilet, when he says, I won't be here. Or the woman in the elevator who's too afraid. I'm like, this chick's going to get cut in half. Hell no. This movie does not do what you expect.
Speaking of Harry, Jeff Daniels. Now, we did the AI run after Tango and Cash, trying to decide who would be the ultimate action movie pairings, ones that we hadn't seen before. And we talked Schwarzenegger, and we talked Jean-Claude Van Damme, we talked Chuck Norris, we talked Steven Seagal. Jeff Daniels, I had totally forgotten Jeff Daniels was in this movie. Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, Dennis Hopper, everyone talks about them. I remembered them. But Jeff Daniels was cast as the veteran bomb disposal guy who keeps his young partner in check. That is some wild casting. This man, if you're not familiar with Jeff Daniels, Dumb and Dumber, he has that face that's just made for comedy. I had a hard time seeing him as anything other than Harry Dunn, but surprisingly, he manages to pull it off. I think it would have made more sense if he were like Jack's commanding officer rather than a SWAT team member, because he looks a little ancient for his job, but I think that's what they were going for.
I think you say that because you're lacking a little Jeff Daniels exposure. He's one of the most versatile actors of the time, and nobody gives him that respect. He's not listed in the same vein as, let's say, Jim Carrey, who they're like, oh, he's so funny, but he could play serious roles. And, oh, eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. Jeff Daniels, yes, he's Harry Dunn, but the dude is also Will McAvoy from Newsroom. He won a Golden Globe Primetime Emmy as leading actor in a series drama for Newsroom. He won Outstanding Supporting Actor for the limited series called Godless in 2018. He won a Tony Award for God of Carnage. And here's the kicker. He won that Emmy Award, and the next day he shows up on set for Dumb and Dumber 2 and tweets out the picture of the haircut. The dude can do everything, and he is not embarrassed to have fun and show his range.
Respect.
Yeah, and now Keanu Reeves, you talk about it. This is a baby-faced Keanu Reeves. This is the Bill and Ted's Adventure, Parenthood. This is the Point Break surfer dude. Today, he is loved. He's an A-list star that seems to be universally loved. Nobody says a bad thing about the man. He seems to be a good human being, and he is a legitimate badass. The Matrix, the John Wick franchise. Keanu's a legend in Hollywood, and he's a legend for being kind. There's memes about him just sitting on a park bench, being pensive, eating a sub. He is a legend in Hollywood. And he's also legendary for how serious he takes his training. For any of the roles that he's done where he has to do any kind of combat, like John Wick, he actually studied hand-to-hand combat, martial arts, stunt driving, tactical firearms. And for John Wick, he had a master shooter trainer named Taron Butler. He trained him for the first John Wick and the subsequent films. And he came out and said, he is by far the best actor he has ever worked with in handling a gun. And it shows off. In this, on the other hand, he looked like you and I playing fucking Call of Duty Drop Zone, where I cut my chute about 60 feet early, hit the pavement, and I was running around as people were killing me from behind. He runs like Danny Glover in Predator 2, like a child, arms flailing. He does not look like the badass he is today.
That is, to this day, still our highest rated Twitch clip. So you did something there. You did something.
I did.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, though. At some point, Keanu Reeves went from this airheaded, vapid butt of an acting joke. People used to make fun of, oh, I know Kung Fu, to being this respected lead man. And Speed you can see that transition happening. It's a bit of a mixed bag because I'll be honest, when the bus blows up in Santa Monica after he picks up his coffee, Jack's reaction is laughable. He runs after the bus. He's like, oh man. And it's like attempt at like lamentation and loss at his bus driving friend that he says hello to every morning. It's goofy. But later in the movie, Harry, as you mentioned, he predictably dies and Payne is on the phone and he's taunting Jack. And Jack's been trying to play along, trying to respect the game, trying to level with this man who's clearly out of his mind. And you see this rage coming out of him. He's smashing the phone. And that acting on Keanu Reeves' part, it sells that dramatic turn that otherwise would have seemed a bit off. It was really like watching him learn to act all in the course of one movie.
Yeah, and you said he's going from the Bill and Ted's. Jan de Bont famously made him shave his hair because he didn't want people to view him. They wanted him to take him more serious, and it works. And I also remember, we got to talk about the other big performance in this, where we have Dennis Hopper as Howard Payne. I remember as a teenager watching this and being like, oh man, this dude is a criminal mastermind. He's planned this out for 3 years. He's thought of everything. Now I realize he is an idiot. He's a fool. I don't know what he did in the Atlanta bomb squad because he's not very good at it.
Blew off his hand.
That's exactly. It was probably his own incompetence. There are so many problems with this plan. First of all, you think in the bomb disposal community, right? It's a small group of guys. You would know if there was this big disgruntled guy out there who had a gripe. Maybe wear a mask. These guys are the ones who might recognize you. And then what could be the worst place to hide? Number one, inside the same building. And number two, even closer, in the same elevator shaft where you've planted explosives. What could go wrong? Maybe the cables snap, they come down, the counterbalance hit you. There's so many ways that you could die. Besides, you're in the worst place because it's going to be surrounded by police and they're all going to be surrounding the elevators.
I'd forgotten exactly how the movie went. And so when the SWAT team shows up and they got their submachine guns out and they're fanning out around the building, I'm like, why would they do that? No one plants a bomb and then hangs out. Well, he did.
No, nobody. But I have to ask this question, right? So it goes haywire. They shimmy down and there's a gunfight. And then it leads out into the hallway and there's the standoff. He shoots Harry in the leg. He goes out. There's an explosion. Why did the police all of a sudden assume, oh, he's dead? There's no body parts. Or did he have time to plant a body out there to then blow it up? Either way, either he planned this with a spare body to hide his, but for God's sake, you wrote in the description, the very next day, he has already planned and executed the bus routine, the whole thing.
Clearly, he did not have that good a plan because he also waits forever to trigger the bomb on the elevator. He hears LAPD arrive. He knows they're there. He knows he's not getting paid. He knows they're in the fucking elevator shaft. As you mentioned, he can hear them having a full-on conversation. Huh? What? Huh? He's just holding on to that trigger. He knows they are there trying to dismantle the bomb. So one of two things is going to happen. It's going to blow up and you're not going to get paid, or they're going to dismantle it and you're not going to get paid. Why are you still waiting?
Why are you waiting blind? He has time to rig his own custom cameras in a bus. Don't elevators have cameras inherently? You couldn't have wired in? Instead, he's just,
Next, Payne demands a ransom of $3.7 million and threatens to detonate the bus if the passengers are offloaded. Jack races through freeway traffic and boards the bus, but the bomb is already armed. A felon on board, fearing Jack is about to arrest him, wildly discharges his gun, accidentally wounding Sam Silver, the bus driver. Another passenger, Annie Porter, takes over for Sam. When she tries to slow down so he can get help, Jack is forced to reveal the bomb to the passengers. He examines the bomb underneath the bus and calls Harry, and the bus is cleared to drive on an unopened freeway section, while Mac demands that they offload the passengers onto a flatbed trailer. Then Jack warns him about Payne's plot. Big D, we recently covered Deep Rising, R.I.P. to Treat Williams. And it seems wrong after his death to talk shit about his movie, but I can't help myself. Deep Rising was a bad movie. And everything that it got wrong, Speed seems to get right. We talked about Deep Rising, not knowing if it wanted to be an insurance fraud movie or a disaster at sea movie or a hostage movie or mercenaries on a mission movie. And it got all of them wrong. It tried to mix them in the wrong way. Somehow Speed gets it right. It goes from being an elevator hostage movie to a revenge movie to a racing movie. It even tries its hand at comedy and romance a few times. And every time you think that the situation can't get worse, can't get more complicated, it finds a way to do so. Jack goes through hell to get on the bus. At that point, when he does, you think you're just dealing with Dennis Hopper and traffic. Like, that's going to be the challenge, right? Mitigating traffic while being on the phone with this guy. Then suddenly you've got a fugitive who pulls a gun. So now you're dealing with a standoff until, Popeye from fucking Blood In, Blood Out tries to disarm the guy. The driver gets shot. It reminded me of watching like a 2-hour episode of 24, and I fucking love 24.
Dude, if you want to build tension and excitement, this is a blueprint on how you do it. First, we got a kick-ass theme. I've already dun 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 dun. That comes on. My heart rate starts going. Shoot the scene from down low so the cars look like they're going super fast. Quick cuts. And then put obstacles in the way of the bus. They put everything out in front of this. We got like 30 cars in the shoulder, gonna hit them. Somebody getting roadside assistance, shoot them off the ramp. Garbage truck, baby carriage, kids going to school, 707s. This fucking thing is action. But he could have stopped all this from the very beginning. He's running up to the bus, and Keanu doesn't like to say the obvious. Start with LAPD, show his badge. Or later on, there's a bomb on the bus. Don't say, I'm sure you're sad about it. You feel guilty about what you did. Let's put the gun down. Just say, bomb on the bus. Don't stop going 50. But he could have ended this whole thing. Shoot the fucking tires on the bus. He's going 7 miles an hour.
Big D, we covered Judgment Night together. You know what would happen. Shooting at a bus is only going to make the driver speed away. If I'm a bus driver and some guy runs up alongside the bus and starts shooting at my tires, I'm going as fast as I can away from the crazy man with the gun.
So you're saying you wouldn't pull in front of the bus with your Jaguar to slow it down? That wouldn't work? Imagine right there, the bus driver jams on the brakes, movie's over, blows up everything.
No, because I know if a white guy with a gun commandeered a Jaguar from a black man, that man is a cop.
That actor has to be the most typecast actor in Hollywood, right?
Seriously.
Toon Man?
Also, how did he not die when he had no seatbelt on, reaching across the car, and he hit like those water barriers?
He died. Oh, 100%. He was changing seats while he did it. So he's going to impale on. Do you remember him from Armageddon?
Oh, yeah.
Little Ricky or Little Bobby.
Jesus Christ.
You killed my dog. That dude.
I was about to say you can't do black man impersonations 2 episodes in a row, but we did have Airplane between. Oh no, you did it on Airplane too. That makes 3. Did Beowulf, Airplane, and Speed? Come on, man.
Hey, I wasn't jive talking. I was just doing Little Richard. It was Little Richard. That's who it was. And the Godzilla things. Yeah, but so Gene, you joked on Speed 2. We talked about the sequel here about how it's hard to get excited when you go 17 knots. We're going 17 knots. It's not very exciting. So, and this movie is based on a film called Runaway Train, which is trains obviously go a little bit faster.
Also the best Soul Asylum song.
And I know 50 miles an hour, that sounds exciting. It's not realistic to expect that a bus in LA can go that fast. Payne has showed his incompetence as a criminal. There's no way he could have thought this would work. Even in 94, on the LA freeway at 8 a.m. That's a challenge to go 50 miles an hour. In 94, I went back and looked, Gene, because I love the podcast this much. Gene, this was the first year that all of the different agencies reported their data to the Federal Transit Administration's National Transit Database. So I went back and compared 1994 to 2017. The Santa Monica Big Blue bus had an average system-wide speed of 12.49 miles per hour. And in 2017, it was down to 9. So even back then, you got to know there's no way this is going to work. Is he expecting not to get paid?
Okay, you're not wrong. But I'm pretty sure that 12 mile per hour average is because it was stopping for passengers, not like it's constant speed.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But, right,
that's a good point.
But you make an excellent point there, too, is that why did he not stop for any other passengers along the way before hitting 50 miles per hour? It must have been an express bus, right? But if you are Payne, you got $3.7 million riding on this plan. of the bus staying above 50 miles per hour. You're going to want to make sure that the bus has no stops to make.
Yes.
You're going to make sure the driver has a few hours of runway or a low enough speed for the city to get the money together. The only explanation I could find for this is what Jack explains in the movie. He says Payne is playing a win-win game. If he gets paid the $3.7 million, he wins. And if Jack dies, Payne still wins. But the movie doesn't really support that. Payne seems very interested in his money and not as interested in killing Jack.
I have a question here. Maybe I missed this. First bus blows up. Jack gets a call. Hey, tells him about 50 miles an hour. The bus driver's oblivious.
Right.
Let's say that Jack twists his ankle.
Yeah.
Right. And doesn't make it to the bus. That bus driver is going to hit 50 in traffic and then stop, and it's all over. Wouldn't you leave a note? Something for the bus driver.
I'm imagining if he can put together the Santa Monica bombing in just one day, he could probably set up bombing after bombing until he gets his money.
Yeah. You should hope so. Or maybe he's got a third one planned.
But this one had his watch. So, I mean, it was very important. You only get one retirement watch. But despite these kinds of plot issues, this is a very smart movie. And we see that in the way they use Sandra Bullock. A lesser film would have had our hero, Keanu Reeves, outsmarting the crook, driving the bus, and saving the day while there was some damsel in distress, played by Sandra Bullock, swooning over his bravado. But Speed's a lot smarter than that. It intelligently made Annie part of the action. And that gave Sandra Bullock the chance to be a hero in her own right in this movie while charming the audience. It gave the camera a reason to be on her constantly. And it gave us a really good reason to like her. I have to admit, personally, after seeing movies like Miss Congeniality and frankly Speed 2, I had gone sort of sour on Sandra Bullock. She kind of annoyed me. It was nice to be reminded with this 1994 feature, reminded of why America fell in love with her. She's very charming in this movie.
She's wonderful. She's innocent. She's polite. I loved her the whole time as everything is breaking down around her. People are dying. She's ready to imminently die herself. She is the most polite and friendly. She's like, sorry. She keeps using her blinker. She's like, oh, geez. You have to absolutely love her. And just like Keanu was dedicated to learning how to shoot a weapon, how to fight for John Wick, Sandra Bullock actually learned to be a bus driver and she passed her test. She actually has a commercial driver's license for a bus. And that banter between the two of them, I think is the strongest part of the movie. And I'm going to let you know how this movie could have gone. Because at one point, Halle Berry was offered the role. Thankfully, she turned it down. Then they turned to Ellen DeGeneres as a driver's ed teacher and comedic sidekick.
No.
Yes. Could you picture Ellen DeGeneres driving the bus as this is going? This movie would not be remembered today. And there's no way somebody would be commissioning this. Thank God Sandra Bullock got the role.
Well, Payne calls Jack again. While being convinced to allow Sam to be offloaded for medical attention, Payne detonates a smaller bomb after witnessing a passenger attempt to get off. It kills her. When Jack learns part of the freeway is incomplete, he persuades Annie to accelerate so they can jump the gap. After narrowly succeeding, he directs her to the Los Angeles International Airport, which has unobstructed runways. Meanwhile, Harry finds out Payne was an Atlanta PD bomb squad officer. He leads a SWAT team to Payne's home, but the property explodes, killing him and most of his team. In a last-ditch attempt to defuse the bomb, Jack goes under the bus on a towed sled. When the sled breaks from its tow line, he accidentally punctures the fuel tank.
So at this point, I got to slow it down. I know we're going a little bit crazy here with this review, and I have to share a story. I think I talked about this with Roger in episode 1 of Shat The Movies, and I'm embarrassed, but I got to talk about it here. And I know some people hate when we get off the movie and talk about our personal experience, but this is just one that I have to. This needs to be. It has to be a cathartic moment for me, so I can just bare my soul and beg whatever God there is above us for forgiveness. But I already talked about how big of a release this was. There was a demand for this film, and I don't know why I did what I did, but I'm pretty confident that I ruined somebody's childhood innocence. I ruined a family movie night. And I don't know if this is going to match what I said way back then when we started this podcast in 2016, but this is how my memory goes. It was a good friend of mine, Rob N. We thought it would be a good idea to take 2 VCRs. One was Speed. which was on the new release. Well, I put tape over the safety tab so you could edit it. And then we decided right as the bus is about to jump off the one side of the unfinished freeway to splice in a Ron Jeremy cum shot. And the edit was perfect, Gene. It was seamless. There was no scrolling or the tracking. It went straight from the bus jump, cum shot, the bus lands, the people on the bus go, yeah, scream. To my best memory, it rented 3 times before the third person complained. And I came in and my manager was like, who would do such a thing? This is just absolutely terrible. This family came in and returned it and they're pissed off. Why would I do that?
You did them a favor. This scene was by far the dumbest point in the movie, and a Ron Jeremy cum shot is an improvement as far as I'm concerned. First, the bus defies physics with that jump. If you watch this jump, the front end inexplicably raises like it's doing a wheelie. And if you pay attention, you can also see there is clearly a left ramp with the road ahead. They didn't have to turn right. But this is a problem that happens again and again in Speed, where they present these false choices, right? Did you notice at the end, they're on the subway train. Jack finds out that the emergency brake is broken, and then he decides that he's going to speed the train up to jump the tracks. He clearly puts his hand on a throttle that's at mid-throttle and pushes it up. It only stands to reason that you could also pull it down from mid-throttle to a lower speed and perhaps slow down the train. This guy is just gung-ho. He just wants to take the riskiest approach possible. And that's okay. It's consistent with his character. Big D, don't feel bad. Let's see, 1994, I was 14 years old. If I had picked up that VHS copy, I would have been in heaven.
But like, I'm wondering like how it played out. Did the first 2 people see it and be like, wow, that scene does not make sense?
No, they're probably like, sweet, it's a Ron Jeremy cum shot. This is amazing.
Or the first family let it go through and the kids just looked at each other and the parents just let it go, just ignored it.
Dude, the question isn't why did the first 2 people let it go? It's why did the third person report it? What's wrong with that person?
This could have been the gift that kept giving.
It's like an urban legend.
I hope somebody out there...
That copy of Speed.
Yeah, that somebody could listen to this podcast. I think there's like, isn't there a statute of limitation? Like I can't get sued for it. Can I at this point?
No,
I think it's... Oh, today there would be some like child endangerment. Today, yeah, this would be pretty bad.
Pretty sure like with the ubiquity of porn availability, like I don't think anybody gives a shit about a Ron Jeremy cum shot anymore. That's old news.
Mommy, what did that man shoot all over that woman? I'm sorry.
I have so many questions about everyone's behavior at this stage in the movie. First, as you mentioned, with Jack's control over the bus, he's telling the passengers, hey, the guy who planted this bomb says you can't get off the bus because if you do, he's going to blow it up. And the passengers, yeah, they hem and they haw, but they, for the most part, listen to them. If I were a passenger, me, Gene Lyons, on a bus, some guy jumps on and he says, hey, we're doing 50 miles per hour and you cannot get off this bus. There's a bomb on it. I'm jumping out the fucking window. I'm going out a door. As soon as a door opens, I am out of there. And then beyond the passengers acting completely unrealistically, think about the SWAT team. The SWAT team, 6 dudes, they roll up on this flatbed trailer. And they're just joyfully cruising around in their sunglasses and their headsets. They're cheering for Harry when the bus makes the jump. At no point does a single one of them try to board the bus. That is not against the rules. There's no rule against additional cops getting on the bus. Also, Sam's been shot. They unload him onto the flatbed and then they just keep driving. Like, why is no one taking Sam to the hospital? He's been shot and he's been hanging out for a half hour bleeding.
He got shot in the chest.
In the chest.
He got shot straight up in the chest. I totally agree. Or maybe sneak on bomb suits.
Yeah.
Like you didn't say I couldn't bring stuff onto it. Dress these guys up in bomb disposal outfits. And I'm torn, Gene. I think that Helen deserved to die.
Yes.
Helen knew at that point, you can't jump. But in the beginning, before you knew what was up, I'm tucking and rolling. I'm going out the door. 50 miles an hour, whatever. You'll get road rash. I mean, people lay their bike down all the time.
Especially later in the movie when they're on the tarmac just doing circles. Adios.
Hell yeah. Time it out. Everybody, let's go out the door. This is like a fucking airborne mission. You know, stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door. Everybody out. everybody out. And that's another bullshit later on we'll get to, is that when they finally are getting offloaded and everybody's like peacefully taking their time, I know how people are. There'd be a stampede. When Cameron hesitates, and I'm kicking his ass out the door and going.
After the passengers bring him back aboard, Jack learns that Payne has been watching the passengers on a hidden surveillance camera, allowing him to be one step ahead at every moment. Jack's Lieutenant Mac has a local news crew record the transmission and rebroadcast it on a loop to fool Payne while the passengers are offloaded onto an airport bus. Jack and Annie escape through a floor access panel before the empty bus collides with a Boeing 707 cargo plane and explodes. Jack and Mac head to Pershing Square to drop the ransom, realizing that he's been fooled and no one died in the explosion, and the LAPD are waiting for him. A furious Payne poses as a police officer to kidnap Annie and recover the ransom. Jack follows Payne into the Metro Red Line subway and discovers that Annie has been fitted with an explosive vest rigged to a pressure-release detonator.
I think it's about time that I heap some praise on Dennis Hopper. This man was born for this role. He embodies it. Without him, this film, I don't think works. Maybe a Gary Oldman could pull this off. Somebody that got that little bit of crazy, little bit of control, that wild man. He is excellent, and I'm happy to see that we're questioning his ability as a mastermind. He makes dumb moves, he makes good moves, and here, in the 24 hours it took for his first failure, he's learned something at least. Now he's going to use the camera. He's got a little bit better of a plan. I don't know how he implemented it, because that first one didn't work, so let's get the hidden camera. And I think it works from like a tension building component, because now you've got the cops chasing the bus, the helicopters, the bus is up on the rails. It's trying to go straight. We did the jump. There's all kinds of effective building of tension, the suspension throughout. The characters are facing obstacles. They're trying to have to figure out now, how is he watching? And it is throwing everything at you. This is like nonstop. You don't have a second to think. And normally you might think like we're complaining or nitpicking. I bought in. My heart was racing. You couldn't turn away. And I know, spoiler alert, I know that Jack's going to make it. I know that, Annie, they're going to be there kissing and talking about relationships built under, stressful situations. But this shit kept me on the edge of my seat, and there's no wonder it was a hit.
At no point during this movie do you think that Howard's not going to notice that the video is being looped. Right? You know that that's what's going to happen, but it's when is he going to notice? How is he going to notice? It's that ticking time bomb, and it's really, really, enjoyable to watch. Even that little scene, as cheesy as it is, when Matt gets on the phone with him and Jack stops him, he's like, he doesn't know that it blew up. You're like, oh shit, he doesn't know that it blew it. It spins it into another chapter of the movie, and it's just so smart.
Gene, they lower him on that creeper under the bus. And I'm thinking this could be the worst idea ever. First, that you're going feet first. You got to go like 2/3 of the bus under before you can get to it. Then it gets tangled up. It gets shot under. You know what? If even the character says it, Annie says, oh, if we didn't have enough problems, now he's punctured the gas tank. So now you got the gas tank punctured. You got the looping video. You got the helicopters, the bomb. They're trying to go 50 miles an hour. There's debris on the runway. It is like every possible thing that could go wrong goes wrong, and it's all working.
But wait, it gets worse. Payne hijacks a subway train, handcuffs Annie to a pole, and sets the train in motion while Jack pursues them. After killing the train driver, Payne attempts a bribe with the ransom money, but is enraged when a dye pack in the bag explodes, tainting the cash. A crazed Payne battles Jack on the train's roof and gains the upper hand, standing on top of Jack and trying to strangle him. However, Jack pushes Payne's head up and he is decapitated by an oncoming railway signal. Jack deactivates Annie's vest but cannot free her from the pole as Payne had the key to her handcuffs. Unable to stop the train, Jack accelerates it, causing it to jump the tracks as it plows through a construction site, then bursts onto Hollywood Boulevard. The train car comes to a halt on the street. Unharmed, Jack and Annie share a kiss while a crowd looks on in amazement. So, Big D, you might know that a few years ago, I had my truck stolen out of my driveway. Mm-hmm. The police came back. They apologized to me for not catching the man because he went off on a high-speed chase, and they weren't willing to do that chase. It was too dangerous. I totally understood. I don't believe in high-speed chases. And here's why. They could have solved this entire problem for much cheaper just by paying Dennis Hopper. $3.7 million. That's all he's asking for. Let's do some math here. The elevator, okay? The elevator in the opening scene. To build an elevator into a building and get it running, it's $50,000 per landing for the shaft, the cable, the elevator, and everything, right? There's 43 floors in this building. I'm not even counting the crane and all that shit. 43 floors of the building. That's $2.1 million right there, just for the elevator, okay? Factor in the explosion outside the building when everyone thought that Payne was dead, and then factor in Harry's medical bills after getting shot in the leg. Now we're rounding off at about $2.5 million, okay? Let's add in the Santa Monica bus, a municipal bus. That's about $500,000. I guess it's $3 million. Basically, we're now almost at a break-even point, okay? Now, police chase, okay? You got a helicopter in the air. You got cars. You got motorcycles. You got wrecks happening left and right. You got roads being shut down, okay? Let's say that goes $600 an hour for the helicopters, and round it all off, all that stuff together, it's let's say $100,000, right? And that's being pretty conservative. So that gets us to, about $3.5 million. Then we got to talk about the lady who fell through the hole. Okay, wrongful death suits. Those are incredibly expensive for a city and police department. And you can say that was a direct result of police intervention. So we're talking about $2 million on average there. So now we are well above the $3.7 million. But then it occurred to me, the biggest price tag in this whole mix, the 707, the airplane, that's a $418 million aircraft. And then let's add in the subway train. That's $200,000 per car. My point is $3.7 million. You get to give a cop who was maimed in an explosion a very nice retirement. You spare lives, you spare property. Nobody had to die. Nobody had to get hurt. Nobody had to be traumatized. Just pay the man.
Gene, you're missing some of the biggest. Just the lost economic, just the impact of shutting down downtown. That building, all those businesses have to leave. The airport shuts down. I know from Vanessa, when you delay a flight, tens of thousands of dollars of scheduling. They're driving. They blow up a plane in LAX. How long is LAX closed for?
That's true.
What about the packages on the plane? You didn't damage the runway or damage that bridge that you jumped or all the cars you hit while the baby carriage full of recycling?
Fuck, I forgot the bus itself, not just the Santa Monica bus, but the bus that they were on. That's another bus. It's two buses. That's $1 million.
Gene, there's about $30 worth of cans in that baby carriage. Toon Man's probably paralyzed. He's going to sue because he got carjacked. That made him crash. He's now going to fake an injury. He's going to call Morgan & Morgan, and they're going to become millionaires. This is going to be into the billions. It doesn't matter because the movie's exciting, and you got to do what's right. Did you notice what the back of the bus says, Gene? What's the ad on the back of the bus?
Is it enough money? Yeah, right, or something like that.
The back of the bus has an ad for, I think it's a fictional bank. It says, money isn't everything, in parentheses, yeah, right. When the train shoots out, it shoots out of the future station, and it says safety first. So they put in all these little details that make the movie very special, and it is fun, people. We're not bitching and complaining. Somebody's going to be like, you guys take it too serious talking about the economic impact of what they did. No, it's fun. But the original movie was very, very different. In the original script, Harry turns out in the end to be the big mastermind. And I kind of like this,
yes.
Okay? So now, besides the fact the original script said they were going to be going 20 miles an hour, not 50, and they would cycle around Dodger Stadium before blowing up the Hollywood sign, that's all bad. But Harry now, let's think of this, okay? Harry manages to have a breakthrough in the case. He identifies the gold watch. He goes through the mug shots. He figures out who it is. It's a retired cop. He then leads them to Payne's property, okay? Booby trap goes off. Boom, whole team is dead. Or was it? Last end of the movie, right? Let's just say we get to see them here. They're kissing. They're talking about the relationship. And then there is a shot of maybe Harry walking away, that Harry was the big bad. And all that talk about, I won't be here all the time, he was the one pulling the strings.
I love it. And at first, as you were starting to describe this, I'm thinking, oh, like Kevin Spacey, like it's like a Kaiser Soze moment. But actually, no, Jeff Daniels is the guy to do this because you would never suspect Jeff Daniels. Look at him.
Never.
It's Harry Dunn.
There is no way that Howard Payne planned this. We're not criminals, Gene. What do you know when you rob a bank? What do you look for?
The alarm?
You look for trackers and you look for die packs.
Yeah.
You laid out this whole plan and you didn't think there was going to be a die pack, so you open it up and act surprised as all of the money is covered. He's not the mastermind.
No.
He's a patsy. There is somebody bigger behind this.
Makes perfect sense. If you wanted to make a Speed 2, you didn't need a cruise ship. You needed Jeff Daniels.
No, you needed Keanu Reeves.
Now is the time in the podcast where we give our Shat score. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It is earning a medal for shooting your partner during a hostage situation. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster movie. Is everyone applauding your performances as Connor Roy and Cameron Fry when really your best work was playing chatty tourist Doug Stevens in Speed? Big deal. Start with you. What is your wipe score for Speed?
So, Gene, I know I need to calm myself down. I got a little high on my own supply. I got a little caffeine in me. I'm excited. This movie was fun. This was everything I love about an exciting summer blockbuster from the 90s. My memories were great. It's a 0.25 white movie. It is pretty damn good. It's stupid. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. People do things that aren't realistic, but who cares? It's fun. You would go in 94. You go buy a big bucket of popcorn. You'd get some candy. You'd sit down. You'd watch it. Your brain would be turned off. You'd come outside. It is so much fun. Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, they're charismatic. They're young. Hopper is a badass. Jeff Daniels is incredible. It's just flat out fun. And it deserved 3 dedicated bookshelves in Blockbuster Video. Great movie. It's a 0.25 white movie. And again, I'm sorry to that family I scarred, but this movie is everything that was right with 90s action.
I'm glad after our disagreement on Airplane, we could come back together as friends. I am not far off from your score. I'm going to go with 3/4 of a wipe. I'm not saying Speed is the best action movie of the 90s, but it just might be the best do-it-all movie of the 90s. And you have to remember, again, this is 1994. When we went to the movie theaters, we needed to see everything in a movie. That was hard-earned cash, and it didn't happen every week or every day. There was no movie pass, right? It's not as good as The Matrix, but it's funnier than The Matrix. It's not as good as Terminator 2, but it's more romantic than Terminator 2. And it's really more exciting than nearly every 90s movie we've done to date. It suffers from a few plot points, which we outlined. They make 0 sense. The ending is a bit silly. I don't really buy Howard Payne as the villain, but I was really impressed overall. And this is a movie, and I know we say it a lot, but if this was on TV at any point and I was walking by doing anything, I'm sitting down and I'm watching at least a scene, maybe 2. It's a great movie. And between my 3/4 of a wipe and your 1/4 of a wipe, that gives us an average wipe score of half a wipe for Speed.
So, Gene, with that mighty score of half a wipe, that now ties us in the 20 spot with some other big films: Aliens, Edward Scissorhands, Princess Bride, The Shining, Forrest Gump. I don't know how the hell that happened. And Internal Affairs.
Yeah, Internal Affairs was surprisingly good. Remember Richard Gere?
Yeah, I do actually remember. That was pretty darn good. So yeah, I mean, it's, again, like you said, you can't deny it. It is fun. The characters, Josh Whedon, who wrote like 90% of the dialogue, the characters have funny one-liners. Every set piece works. It's a good time, man.
Well, thank you, Jackson, for commissioning Speed and all the other movies that you did commission. I am pleased to report that we came in 2 wipes under your wipe score, so that's pretty good and a rarity. And we can't wait to get to your future commissions. Big dude, we have a couple voicemails this week. Our first one comes from James in Wales, calling in about Wayne's World.
What's happening, chat crew? It's one of your 5 listeners under 30. I've just finished up listening to Jaws the other night, and right at the end you said that Wayne's World is actually a better film. So I thought, fuck it, this film must be hilarious. Guys, I don't know if this is because I'm Welsh or because I wasn't born in 1991, but I found that film an absolute chore to sit through. Fucking hell. I mean, I might give it a 1/4 wipe off for Abraham Lincoln, but that is about it. And I think there was another guy from England who actually shared my view. So I had a look on your website, and only 2 of you have actually given it a score. So if you take my 4.75, and I'm pretty sure he was giving it a 5, I think we might actually have a more realistic score for Wayne's World. But apart from that, love you guys. Keep up the good work.
I mean, I have to agree with it. This is no Nuns on the Run.
For the record, not Welsh.
No, I know, but more like nuns hanging out. But thank you very much for the call. I think it's a very American film. I think it's something that would speak to our experience.
Yeah, you got to understand Chicago. You got to understand Aurora, Illinois. You got to understand Milwaukee. It's a very American film. And James, It never occurred to me at any point, and I'm a big Wayne's World fan, it never occurred to me at any point while watching it, what would my Welsh friends think of this? So I thought of my good friends, Anthony Evans and Owen Evans, who are my connection to the Welsh world. They would hate this fucking movie. Like, they would absolutely hate it. There's a very distinct, and not to pigeonhole you, but there's a very distinct Welsh outlook on life and what's funny. And yeah, I don't think Wayne's World translates well into your part of the world or your culture. But thank you so much for calling in, and we will take your wipe score under advisement. Well, moving on from Wales to Tennessee, we've got a voicemail from Mike V.
What's up, Shat crew? It's Mike V in Tennessee, once again running errands and deriving much enjoyment from listening to you guys talk about some of my favorite movies and some of my not-so-favorite movies, depending. But at the moment, I just finished the Labyrinth episode, and I love you guys, but I have to say to you, Gene, and Roger, and Carrie, and Dick, I'm pretty sure y'all missed the point on that episode. The Big Dick, I love you. You keep going on about how it's creepy, the relationship between Jareth and Sarah, because she's 15 and Jareth is a grown man in his 40s. But here's the thing. He's not human. He's the Goblin King. He's immortal. We have no idea how old he really is.
That's even worse.
So you can't call him a creepy grown man in his 40s because he's not even human. And he's supposed to be creepy. Goblins aren't nice. Y'all watch Lord of the Rings, right? Goblins are not polite. Goblins are not kind. They're evil. Which brings up the third point. He's the villain. He's supposed to be creepy. You're not supposed to cheer for Jareth. He's the bad guy. He's the reason that Sarah is lost in the labyrinth. He's the reason that Toby disappeared. He's not a good dude. You're not supposed to like him. I mean, yeah, we can't help liking him because it's David Bowie as the character, but the character himself is the villain. If you really stop and think about it, he is. Other than that, great episode. Except for maybe the score. I think it could be a better score. I still think that pretty much anything is better than Blade Runner.
Woo! Yeah, amen.
Pretty much anything is better than Christmas Vacation as well, or Three Amigos.
Hey.
But I love you guys and keep up the good work. It just so happens that I disagree with you this time, and I think that if you check, you'll see there are probably a lot of people who share my opinion. Much love. Keep up the good work. I'm out.
So it sounds like we agree on some things and disagree on some things. First of all, I was with you on all of your movie scores until you got to Three Amigos. I can't agree with you on that one. It's a fantastic movie. Yes, Jareth is creepy. There's no disagreement there. I think it's the cause of the creepiness, whether it is being an older man or being a goblin.
Either way, you're missing the point. It's not age, it's experience. When we did Near Dark, there was a vampire who was like 100 and something years old who was in the body of a child.
Yeah.
When you go after an innocent young girl as a Goblin King, however, let's just say he was 100 years old. It's even worse. He should know better. He's got all the other people there. Go after the Chili Downs. Go after somebody else.
This all goes back to Father of the Bride.
Maybe. That's true. I'm defensive of it, you know. But hey, keep listening. This whole podcast is based on debate. If we all agreed, it would be a giant circle jerk. So it's nice to have people share their feelings and keep listening.
And speaking of debate, let's round this voicemail segment out with a voicemail from Hot Sauce Steve calling in about Return to Oz.
Hey, Shat crew, it's Hot Sauce Steve calling in. I just listened to your Return to Oz episode. My daughter, a couple of years ago, went through a big Wizard of Oz phase. We literally watched, I think, everything out there they have, Wizard of Oz, and we read several of the books together. And I'm going to say the show, it's a 1980s anime Japanese show, but The Wonderful Wizard of Oz was actually a pretty good adaptation of the first 3 and 6 books. It's like 50-some episodes. They're all short. It was probably the best adaptation of anything Wizard of Oz I've seen. Pretty entertaining, follows the books really well. Also, they had something about eggs and the Gnome King in that show, so I don't know if it was in any of the books, but it definitely wasn't a big part of that show. All the gnomes were deathly afraid of eggs. So there you go on that one, and have a great day.
I had a parenting question here, Big D.
Mm-hmm.
As a parent, is it fairly easy to tell your child, hey, we're going to do this block of movies or TV show or read this book, and they're just like, hell yeah, let's do it? Like, is that an unrealistic expectation? Because it sounds like parents who are into, Star Wars or, Hot Sauce Steve trying to just go through an Oz block with the kid. Does the kid have to approach you with the thing that they're interested in, or can you kind of, I don't want to say force it upon them, but like, do you just make a suggestion to Emma, hey, let's get really into Lord of the Rings? And she goes, yeah, dope, let's do it.
No, Emma's very opinionated.
Okay.
She wants to see the trailer and she'll tell me yes or no. Like so E.T., she was all on board. She liked it. Goonies, hell no. No interest. I showed her a little bit of Star Wars, even though she's got a baby Yoda. She knows kind of the basic premise. Zero interest.
But like, if you were to sit down with her and say, hey, I want to show you the songs that made Daddy, the songs that made him the man he is, and then you just played like a block of ABBA and Chumbawamba, would she like be interested in hearing that because it's Dad's music, or would she just not care?
No, she will tell me if she thinks it sucks. So I've played some like I remember I have a video of her, maybe a year and a half, 2 years old, and I'm playing Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
And she's in the back, like banging her head. She likes some AC/DC, some old Metallica, but if I play something else, she'd be like, that's terrible. So she's very opinionated. I like that. The last thing I sat down and watched with her that she was really into was we watched Spider-Man Across the universe, the multiverse or whatever across. She loved that. We went out and saw part 2 in the theater, and it was very complex. So I had to sit down and talk to her the concept of the multiverse, and in each universe, your actions she bought into it, knew it, understood it. But like, I'm trying to get her to watch Goonies. I tried to get her to watch Home Alone. She loves. She's watched that shit like 35 times.
Does she acknowledge that Home Alone 2 is better?
Hold on. Emma!
He's literally getting up.
Come here, please, quickly.
He's got his work clothes on, guys. Little trousers and a dress shirt. Quickly. It's very adorable.
Come here. Talk. Come here.
Hi.
Hello. I heard that you really, really, really liked Home Alone.
Yes.
And you've seen it a bunch of times. Have you seen Home Alone 2? Lost in New York, starring Rob Schneider and Donald Trump.
Remember Home Alone 2? They were in the city, the one with the pigeons?
No, I don't remember.
No? What'd you think about E.T.?
It was okay.
What about the Muppet movie?
Yeah, okay too.
Goonies?
I never watched that movie.
I know you wouldn't. What about Star Wars?
I like it.
You like it, you liar. When did you watch it?
You usually watch it, and I watch it.
No, you have to sit down and watch them with me.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch any movie you don't want. Don't let him tell you what to watch.
You have to watch that or Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Or Jurassic Park.
Ghostbusters.
Okay, Ghostbusters. You heard it. She promised.
Is Interview with the Vampire the best movie you've ever seen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. How many times have you watched Home Alone?
15.
You watch it on the plane every time we fly.
I know. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's 15 times.
You think Kevin hurt anybody?
No.
Like a paint can to the face didn't hurt them?
Oh, yeah, that definitely hurt.
Are we going to get you on the podcast some more? Are you going to do an episode with us?
It's up to him. Last time he said I will record, we didn't.
I did. We recorded the Muppet movie, you liar.
Yeah, you got an episode.
Yeah, but I wanted to come on here.
Okay, so what movie do you want to do?
Ghostbusters.
We already did Ghostbusters.
No, we didn't.
You weren't there for it, but we did it. How about this? We'll look over what's coming up.
Okay.
And you'll find one. We'll get you a headset, we'll get a mixer, and we'll get you on board.
Okay. Gene, I have a question for you.
What's your question?
Do you know Justin Bieber? Have you met him in real life?
I have not met him in real life. I went to a wedding where he was going to be, but he couldn't make it. But one of the guests at my wedding two of the guests at my wedding, four of the guests at my wedding are very good friends with Justin Bieber.
That's not fair.
Hey, your dad's a celebrity too.
Not sure.
Well, what did he say?
You're a celebrity.
If I'm a celebrity?
Yeah. I don't think you are.
I'm no Justin Bieber.
I know.
Millions of people have listened to him and downloaded his podcast.
Okay, so we're going to get you on the podcast.
We're going to do it. We're going to pick out a movie. We'll do it. It'll be great.
The new Ariel movie.
Did you like it when they kissed?
No.
Yes, you did. I saw you smiling. That was yucky.
So then why did you marry Mom?
Boys are yucky. I don't know why she did it.
You're the one who chose.
Oh, it's true. I tricked her into it.
With all of his muscles, standing out by the pool, being all buff.
I'm telling her. Mom!
Okay, get out of here.
Adios.
Good night.
Love you. Get out of here. Go. No, you beat me up last night. Go. Close the door.
I won't do it again.
Close the door.
Promise.
Close the door.
Please.
Go. Get out of here.
Please.
You have no chance unless you close the door.
She's developing Brazilian gesticulation.
Can I?
Hey, get out of here. You're not going to be able to go. Sorry.
She's developing Brazilian gesticulation. You know this?
Yes.
That's not very good podcast, but guys, I was doing Brazilian things with my hand and face. Okay, we got to wrap this up. Steve, thank you so much for calling in and proving that eggs have now become canon in the world of Oz. That's a very important fact to pick up. So whether or not it was originally in the text, it's now law, as Big D predicted. It has now become a subtext for the Wizard of Oz, and we know that gnomes are allergic to eggs. All right, let's close this bad boy out, Big D. What do we have coming out next week?
So, Gene, as much as I love Speed, love blockbusters, big hits, after Beowulf, I texted you and said we should do shitty movies all the time because they're so much fun. And next week, I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but the poster, the trailer, everything leads me to think this is going to be that type of film. Ever in search of adventure, explorer Alan Quatermain agrees to join a beautiful Jessie Houston on a mission to locate her archaeologist father, who has been abducted for his knowledge on the legendary mine of King Solomon. As the kidnappers, led by sinister German military officer Bachner, the Germans are always behind it, journey into the wilds of Africa. Alan and Jessie track the party and must contend with fierce natives and dangerous creatures along with other perils. Commissioned by Moonlit Tier, and I believe this is part of a series of films which we've got them in the subsequent weeks. So this will be in 1985. This will be a big one. I know you guys are thinking, hey, that's Raiders of the Lost Ark. No, it's not, but it could be good.
That is going to be the challenge here, Moonlit Tier. Moonlit Tier is a dear friend of the podcast, big supporter of our Twitch stream, very active in our Discord as well. I'm going to tread lightly here, but the fact of the matter is that Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of our few perfect wipe scores. 0 wipes in that movie. So there is a huge hill to climb on this movie whose plot seems eerily similar to an Indiana Jones movie. And you are right, Big D, we are doing these back to back. So it will be the Mines of King Solomon and then the Lost City of Gold in the following week. Good or bad, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I think it's going to be a great one. I'm excited.
Thank you, Moonlit Tier, for your upcoming commission. Thank you, Jackson, for commissioning Speed. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat The Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media, share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat The Movies. Email us, host@shatthemovies.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or commissioning your own movie. Find all that information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all that information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. It'll make a little girl very happy to see that you wrote 5 stars. Emma is amazing. Just imagine. Just imagine. On behalf of my co-hosts, Big D, Ash, and Emma, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
The great greatest legend of all time.
It is not your fantasy, Mr. Quatermain.
About the greatest treasure known to man is about to be pursued by the boldest, most daring hero ever to seek the thrill of adventure. Richard Chamberlain is Alan Quatermain in King Solomon's Mines, joined by an unlikely soldier of fortune.
Surprise!
Great reflexes, boys.
The stick! Go back on the stick! I'm driving a car!
Their only hope in the hands of the enemy.
I will have only 2 words to say to you. Talk or die. That's 3 words. Huh?
I want to scream!
Following a mythical trail to the forbidden, impenetrable, inescapable, King Solomon's Mines. Join Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone for the adventure of a lifetime.
I've got it!
King Solomon's Mines.